part 2 is about assessing the quality of existing Wikipedia articles. And I just want to show you some of my experiences with that. So we've actually, in the other project that I've been working on with Arnau, we set up a formal system of assessing the quality of articles, sort of a little bit almost scientific. So we put that here. It's actually a scoring system, and you know, if you wanted to make it all very structured, you could look at, let's say there's 10 articles that you want to improve in an editathon. You could score them before and then score them again afterwards to see the improvement in that score. So which are the parameters that we've included in our scoring? They're all shown here. And then I've given a certain weighting to these parameters. There's 10 parameters that we've used. So one of them is readability. This is really important, and a lot of our articles are weak on readability. It means, can somebody understand it who hasn't studied that subject in depth? And there is these tools, I don't know if you've heard this Flesch Kincaid Reading Ease, and we use this web tool, and it's a crude way. It just looks at the length of the sentences, the length of the words, and gives you a score. So that's the readability. Then we have sourcing, which means how many references are used. We've got illustrations, how good are the images that are in there. Comprehensiveness, that's difficult to assess when you're not an expert, but you know, how comprehensive is that topic? Connectivity, how well is the article connected within the Wikipedia system to other articles? Formatting, neutrality, and then that gives us a score of 100 if everything was perfect. And then we've also set up a scoring system for just the leads. So the leads, I'll just show you what I mean by the leads. Go to this disaster risk article. So a Wikipedia article comes up with this sort of text at first, and we call it the lead. It comes before the table of contents, and it's meant to be a summary of the article, pretty similar to the abstract of a paper. And often these are not very good summaries. They often just pick up on one aspect and write about that. So we feel that the leads are super important because a lot of people will only read this. They might only read the first paragraph and the rest, you know. So it's so important, and somehow people don't spend enough time on these leads. So we've scored the leads separately. Again, readability, the length, they should be around 600 words long, quality of summary, and the illustration that's used. So each lead should have one good picture with it, or it can be a collage. So if I go to this water security article, which I've worked on a bit, we're using here a collage, 4 pictures, sometimes even more, but yeah. So think of a good picture that somehow represents the content of the article. So this water security article is now fairly good. So it's got a nice long lead, well, long the right length. And then we've got here the structure. It's important when you look at the structure that the headings that are used should be a little bit generic. I think that's useful. You know, I've got here definitions, which is sort of a generic heading, related concepts, outcome scales, and so on. So if you look at other Wikipedia articles that haven't yet been improved, you can already see sometimes from the lead that it's a bit messy. There's no standard headings. And then if I just visually look at this article now, it's important that there's lots of these references. So every second or third sentence there should really be a reference, you know, citation. And there should be some images. So this article is weak on images. You know, there's a lot of text. So we need to work on the images a bit. What else? Yeah. Then the other thing is, if I come to an article fresh, let's say I put in here Earth, it's the article on Earth, and I want to see is it a good article or not. So the first thing is this hint here. So this one actually has a star, which means it's a featured article, which means it's supposed to be very good. So when you click on this link, it explains a bit what Wikipedia means with featured articles, and then it gives you examples. So if you're ever working on an article and you're wondering, should I do it like this or like that, it helps to look at featured articles in comparison, because they are the best of the best, presumably. And then the other thing to look at is if you click on View History, you can see if the article is still actively being updated. You know, so as you would expect, there's a lot happening here in June 22. Other articles, when you click on View History, you'll see it was last edited 5 years ago, and then you can imagine that perhaps it's not completely up to date. Although some topics might not change that much. So, yeah. So it's important you click on View History to have a bit of a look at what's going on. And then the other thing that is useful is, of course, the page views, which tells you how many people, how often the article is looked at. I guess that doesn't necessarily say anything about quality. It might just be, yeah. But there seems to be, so if I click on all time, I can see how this article, how much it has been viewed. What happened here, it might have had a name change. Then if you have very abrupt change here. So, but the daily average is 20,000 for this one, which is very high. So obviously the topics on general topics will have higher page views than the very specific ones that we're probably going to be editing more. So that was page views, and then the other thing is page statistics. That's also useful to look at when did this article get changed, by whom, what's going on with some of the statistics. So I'm just loading this page, it's taking a bit of time. While it's loading, I'm looking at, yeah, so the other thing that is useful to look at is how many links, you know, these blue things here, these are wiki links. So this is where the article links to other Wikipedia articles. And it's good to have those sort of linkages. So if you come to an article that has none of these blue links, or very rare, then that's a sign of poor quality in the Wikipedia sense. I don't know why this is taking so long. Here we go. So this one, what I find sometimes interesting, you can see who's been working on this article. So these are the people who worked on it. So it's got a range of people. And then further down it shows when, so you can see here in 2008 a lot of work was done on this article, and then it sort of continuously increases in size. So yeah, so these are the things that are available to you through this tab. You click View History, and that gives you access to either the page views or the page statistics. Okay, so I think that's all for assessing the quality of an existing Wikipedia article.